Disney banned Ryan Reynolds from mocking one of its classic animated films with Deadpool and Wolverine. So recently we learned that Disney CEO Bob Iger personally made Ryan Reynolds cut a joke about Mickey Mouse from Deadpool 3. At one point in the film, Deadpool was mad at Disney because Magneto didn't show up, and in the script, he was supposed to say, "Disney is so cheap, I can barely breathe with all this Mickey Mouse cock in my throat." But Bob Iger didn't like it, so instead Ryan Reynolds changed the joke to a much dirtier one about Pinocchio.
Are any jokes in the movie that you wanted to make but couldn't or had to remove?
Yeah, there was one. There's one. There's a little Disney joke that we couldn't do.
Oh, really?
Yeah. We had to take it out. But yeah,
people are saying that this film could save the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And you know what? Maybe, just maybe, even democracy.
Ryan Reynolds, famously known for portraying Deadpool, is reportedly drawing a hard line with Disney when it comes to the X-Men franchise. Allegedly, Reynolds has expressed frustration over any potential attempts to incorporate forced diversity, race swapping, or prioritizing female-led characters as main heroes for the sake of an agenda. He's said to oppose changes like altering the X-Men's established identity, including claims that the team is too white. According to sources, Reynolds has made it clear, if Disney pushes in that direction, he's ready to walk away from the project entirely.
And they just shut that down immediately.
Would Wolverine, if he got the chance to deliver the line?
That's made. Don't take that.
How so?
Because you will be a meme, and then Bob Iger will show up at your house. You'll be neutralized by one of the people with blow darts.
That's true. So I shouldn't say that Wolverine would say, "Go yourself."
Yes, that's the stuff.
Oh yeah, boy!
One 4.5-minute interview ruined all of our careers.
He made Disney very upset. Deadpool said they weren't allowed to joke and use a certain word, which was joked to be a certain substance, as Deadpool went through a list of alternate names. However, now it's learned with the release of the Deadpool and Wolverine script, which joke was specifically not approved and deleted from the movie. And this is one of the best jokes that I have seen about Disney in a very long time.
This movie is incredibly warm and emotional, not just so, Deadpool works best on scarcity and surprise, right? So it's been 6 years since we've had a Deadpool movie. It's been 7 since we've had a Wolverine movie, and those work in our favor. So people are expecting the unexpected, and part of the unexpected is that sort of warmth. But really, there was one joke, one line that they asked me to take out.
You know what else is awesome? Ryan Reynolds. I told you guys, I can't wait for the Deadpool marketing to happen. And of course, now the interviews are coming out. And then we got this video right here from Ryan Reynolds.
We're very excited to be joining you July 26th. Many of you are very excited, but we should set the table correctly. This film is as paper thin as a sequel to Battlefield Earth. We're mostly going to beat each other senseless, make enemies with Disney, tell a few dick jokes, make a few jokes at my expense, make a lot of jokes at Hugh's expense, and completely sidestep Marvel's mandated after-credit sequence, which, if you haven't figured it out yet, is always just a commercial for another movie, which will invariably end with a commercial for another movie. So sit back, relax, let us lower your IQ and raise your heart rate while we travel to a vapid dreamland, a place where grown men and grown women walk around in tights and act like it's not a giant cultural cry for help. This is cinema.
This is what's so great about Deadpool and Wolverine, is the fact that it's just going to be shitting on all the stuff that we've complained about when it comes to the MCU.
I wouldn't characterize myself as an entrepreneur. I would characterize myself as someone who has found a couple of different things in life that I believed in with every cell in my body. And this is...
Ryan Reynolds has addressed the growing controversy surrounding Disney's reported plans for modern representation in the X-Men franchise. While he doesn't label himself an entrepreneur, Reynolds describes himself as someone deeply committed to a few causes he believes in wholeheartedly, and this appears to be one of them. At the center of the debate are rumors suggesting that Disney plans to race swap several iconic X-Men characters in an effort to address claims that the team is too white. Fans, however, have labeled this move a blatant agenda, questioning whether such changes truly reflect audience desires. According to credible insiders, Disney and Marvel Studios are collaborating with toy and merchandising partners to gauge how far they can push these changes without risking significant revenue loss. A leaked memo reportedly revealed that Disney is considering casting high-profile actors in these reimagined roles, hoping that their star power will overshadow any backlash from fans over these adjustments. Ryan Reynolds is rumored to be among those who aren't on board with this approach, and it seems many fans share his concerns. The question remains, Is altering beloved characters' identities the way to win over audiences? Or is this just a calculated gamble to pacify critics while sidestepping fan expectations? Ryan Reynolds has reportedly taken a firm stance against Disney's rumored plans for the X-Men franchise, accusing the company of prioritizing agendas over authentic storytelling. Allegations have surfaced that Disney intends to employ bait-and-switch tactics, introducing fan-favorite characters like Wolverine or Magneto briefly, only to shift focus onto new, agenda-driven characters. Fans have expressed outrage, seeing this as a calculated move that prioritizes messaging over meaningful narratives, and Reynolds seems to agree. The controversy doesn't stop with race-swapping iconic characters. Victoria Alonso, a former key figure at Marvel Studios, was set to advocate for rebranding the X-Men to eliminate the men in their name, pushing for more inclusive branding. Alonso also championed adding trans superheroes to reflect today's society and the society of tomorrow. While many fans support diversity, they argue that the X-Men franchise already represents it, citing characters like Storm, Bishop, and Jubilee, who have long been integral to the team. These characters weren't created to fill quotas. They were well-rounded individuals with rich backstories and meaningful contributions to the franchise's legacy. For Reynolds, the issue isn't representation, it's the erosion of creative integrity. He's drawn comparisons to the Marvels, which suffered a historically poor box office debut, grossing just $47 million on opening weekend against a $200 million budget. Many fans and critics attributed the failure to wokeness fatigue, where heavy-handed messaging overshadowed the story. Reynolds reportedly fears the X-Men franchise could face a similar fate if Disney continues down this path. The X-Men, after all, have always been a symbol of inclusion and diversity, tackling real-world struggles like identity, acceptance, and oppression through nuanced storytelling. Fans argue that altering the race or gender of beloved characters disrespects this legacy, especially when authentic representation has already been a cornerstone of the series. Characters like Storm, a powerful Black woman who's led the X-Men since the 1970s, and Bishop, a time-traveling mutant of African-American descent, demonstrate that the franchise has long embraced diversity without compromising its core identity. For Reynolds, this fight goes beyond Deadpool. It's about preserving the authenticity of characters and stories fans have loved for generations. If Disney insists on prioritizing politics over storytelling, Reynolds is reportedly prepared to walk away, even if it means leaving Deadpool's future in the MCU uncertain. Fans aren't asking for race-swapped or agenda-driven superheroes. They want the X-Men they grew up loving, characters who resonate because of their compelling stories and relatability, not because of forced changes. In the end, Reynolds' stance reflects the sentiments of many fans. The X-Men don't need fixing because they've always been ahead of their time in terms of diversity and inclusion. Altering their DNA risks undermining everything that has made them iconic for decades.
That's it. Hang on.
Knock, knock. Whoa, so many stars. Was that Ian McKellen?
Ryan, the cast and I were all just reminiscing about the movie that we're all in together.
I hear you. You know, I love that movie. I hope it's okay if I join. I figured we were all in X-Men together.
X-Men Origins.
Yeah, always good seeing you, Ryan.
I actually invited a few others.
Hey, guys.
Hey, everyone.
So many timelines. It's like a recap of Knots Landing.
2 professors, 1 cup.
What's happening?
It's just like the X-Men movies. You know, it doesn't matter.
Oh, sorry. I actually thought this was the Game of Thrones reunion.
You know, Tyrion Lannister was in an X-Men film.
Okay, bye. I actually have a James Bond reunion soon. Oh, God. Me too.
Split reunion.
Star Trek.
I love you, Patrick Stewart.
Yeah, bye, everyone.
Maybe we see a Deadpool 4? Oh God, no. My wife and children will divorce me, and
The kids will divorce you?
I have no prenup with any of them.
Never told this story anywhere, but the movie was originally called Deadpool and Friend. I am actually not joking. And on the eve of the Super Bowl, and the Super Bowl is where we first launched the trailer to Deadpool and not Friend, but Wolverine.
it leaked. Because the son of a bitch is on the internet. And the title leaked, and we looked at it and listened, and they hated that title. And we were not feeling so good about that anymore. And it went with the trailer that we were showing. Like, it was like kind of a perfect title for the first piece of materials we had out there. So Sean Levy, he and I had been sitting in the edit room for months at this point, and we called everybody at Disney and Marvel and said, we have to change the title. And they were like, well, no, guys, it launches tomorrow.
Disney Plus sheds 12.5 million subscribers in fiscal Q3.
Their content sucks. I mean, they haven't made a good Marvel movie in who knows how long. Like, everyone's upset at, like, the Little Mermaid thing. Now Snow White's, like, it's not even a Snow White movie. They have this chick that's independent, and there's no prince, and the dwarves are, like, normal size, and they're just random people. It's a different type of movie. Just call it another thing.
I'm all for making new movies and new stories and new diversity, inclusion, just different heroines and heroes.
Just make a new movie. Living off of our childhood. Every movie is our childhood. Our kids are going to watch reruns or remakes of our childhood. Like, do something else. They're trying too hard with the inclusion.
It is backfiring. You need to do it, but you need to do it in a way that's not just pandering. It's like, at a certain point, it's no longer you're doing it because you genuinely believe in it. You're doing it because you think I'm going to get canceled. Or there's an ulterior motive that's actually selfish.
Basically grow our content significantly to serve our mostly our streaming offerings. We ended up taxing our people way beyond, in terms of their time and their focus, way beyond where they had been. Marvel's a great example of that. And frankly, it diluted focus and attention.
The performance of some of our recent films has definitely been disappointing, and we don't take that lightly. And as you'd expect, we're very focused on improving the quality and the performance of the films that we've got coming up. It's something that I'm working closely with the studio on. I'm personally committed to spending more time and attention on that as well.
What are you going to do?
Reducing output overall to enable us to concentrate on fewer projects and improve quality.
I've always felt that quantity can be actually a negative when it comes to quality, and I think that's exactly what happened. We lost some focus.
Definite mistake. And quality needs attention to deliver quality. Doesn't happen by accident. And the quantity, in our case, diluted quality, and Marvel suffered greatly from that.
You know, volume sometimes can be detrimental to quality, and in our zeal to greatly increase volume, partially tied to wanting to chase more global subs for our streaming platform, some of our studios lost a little focus. So the first step that we've taken is that we've reduced volume. We've reduced output, particularly at Marvel.
The loyalty fans have to iconic X-Men characters like Wolverine, Cyclops, Jean Grey, and Storm is unmatched, with decades of rich history tied to their identities. Tampering with their essence to fit a corporate agenda risks alienating the very fans who've supported the franchise through thick and thin. Fans aren't asking for changes. They're asking for authenticity, the very quality that made the X-Men special in the first place. As one fan aptly put it, the X-Men don't need fixing. Their stories have always been about inclusion. Disney's rumored changes feel more like pandering than meaningful representation. If history is any guide, audiences rarely respond well to forced alterations that come off as lectures rather than genuine storytelling. Franchises like Ghostbusters, 2016, and The Little Mermaid, 2023, tried to modernize themselves with heavy-handed agendas, but instead faced massive backlash and lackluster box office returns. Fans want stories that honor the spirit of the originals, not ones that feel manipulated to check a corporate box. The X-Men's legacy has always been one of natural inclusion and powerful storytelling, core values that resonate deeply with its audience. Disney's rumored changes risk undoing that legacy, alienating fans, and diminishing beloved characters that have been cherished for generations. For Ryan Reynolds, this controversy isn't just about the X-Men. It's a reflection of a broader issue in modern filmmaking. The heart of the X-Men lies in their authentic exploration of identity, acceptance, and oppression. Characters like Storm, Wolverine, and Jean Grey are iconic not because they were designed to meet quotas, but because of their rich stories, deep struggles, and relatable arcs. Forced changes threaten to strip away that authenticity, leaving fans feeling betrayed. This is more than a creative misstep. It's a fundamental misunderstanding of what makes the X-Men resonate so deeply. Reynolds seems to understand this better than Disney itself. The controversy surrounding the rumored changes isn't just about one franchise. It reflects a growing divide between corporations pushing agendas and audiences seeking genuine, heartfelt storytelling. If Disney doesn't course correct, it risks undermining not just the X-Men's legacy, but the trust and passion of its fans. Ryan Reynolds' outspoken defiance sheds light on a much larger trend in Hollywood, where storytelling is increasingly being overshadowed by corporate agendas. Reynolds isn't alone. Stars like Scarlett Johansson and Chris Pratt have also voiced concerns about DEI-driven, diversity, equity, and inclusion, initiatives taking precedence over genuine, character-driven narratives. Their message is clear: prioritizing virtue signaling over authentic storytelling alienates fans and undermines creative integrity. Disney's recent track record provides evidence of this shift. The backlash against their Snow White remake, for example, highlighted the risks of abandoning a beloved classic's roots for a modernized, diverse approach that fans didn't ask for. Critics and audiences accused Disney of turning a timeless tale into a hollow PR move, undermining its emotional core. If Disney was willing to gamble with Snow White, one of the most iconic fairy tales in history, the stakes are even higher for the X-Men franchise, arguably one of Marvel's most cherished properties. Fans have long idolized characters like Wolverine, Cyclops, and Storm, whose legacies are tied to decades of storytelling. Changing their essence to meet corporate diversity goals risks unleashing backlash that Disney may not be able to recover from. Fans aren't opposed to diversity. They're opposed to forced changes that feel performative rather than meaningful. Being diverse for the sake of diversity isn't just risky. It could be the worst PR move Disney makes. Financially, Disney's recent strategies have proven disastrous. Projects like Eternals, Ms. Marvel, and the much-maligned The Marvels failed to resonate with audiences, with The Marvels suffering a historically poor box office debut. These failures point to a critical issue. Fans are losing trust. Instead of generating excitement, Disney's new releases are often met with skepticism. Even their Disney Plus platform has seen a shrinking subscriber base, signaling waning interest in their content. The once dominant Marvel Cinematic Universe, MCU, is now showing significant cracks. Diminishing box office returns and lackluster fan engagement indicate that Disney's current approach is pushing audiences away. If Disney botches the X-Men reboot with unnecessary changes, the fallout could be catastrophic, not just for the X-Men but for the MCU as a whole. Reynolds' stance serves as a wake-up call to both Disney and the broader entertainment industry. Fans aren't demanding diversity quotas. They're demanding good stories. The X-Men, with their legacy of natural inclusion and powerful narratives, deserve a faithful continuation of what made them iconic. Tampering with their core identities risks alienating longtime fans who've stuck with Marvel for decades and could deter new audiences entirely. For Disney, the stakes couldn't be higher. Another failure on the scale of Eternals or the Marvels could deal a major blow to the MCU, a franchise that once seemed unstoppable. If the X-Men reboot strays too far from its roots, Disney risks losing not just one franchise, but the loyalty of a fanbase that has been the backbone of Marvel's success. Now, more than ever, Hollywood needs to return to what audiences truly want: authentic, compelling storytelling.
Zip it! Thanos, we have a deal and you... Disney was just appalled at everything, and Marvel couldn't believe, was never going to let us do anything.
Is it just me, or do you want to build a snowman from Frozen sound suspiciously like Papa, Can You Hear Me from Yentl? Papa, can you hear me?
It's owned by our parent company here, Disney. It's they own a lot of stuff, actually. They own this show, Jimmy Kimmel Live, ABC, Hulu, FX, FXX, ESPN, the concept of joy, water, air, and they just bought up all the global supply of insulin.
Why would they need that?
Well, they don't, but they have it.
Suck it, Fox. Post-production schedule: 4 movies in 2021, 3 in 2022 and 2023, 1 this year. Creatively, strategically, what did that allow you guys time to do at Marvel Studios?
Well, a lot of those, the cadence that you just mentioned, a lot of that was because of the pandemic and because of the strike.
Sure.
As often happens, sometimes what seems like a disadvantage to have to be able to shuffle around ends up being something that is good. And the notion that we have one movie to focus on this year, I think is great, not just internally for us, but for audiences. We'd had so many projects between the movies and the Disney Plus series that I think it's nice to be able to focus on an event.
Sure.
Because to me, that's what every movie of ours should be, is an event.
Yeah, this is it. There were people who were worried again about that Disney wouldn't really let them do what they want to do with Deadpool. Sean Levy said this. I think this is a great quote. He said, "There was no way I was going to reinvent a wheel, a tonal wheel that works so beautifully. Both Disney and Marvel, up and down the food chain, empowered Ryan and I to make this movie exactly how we dreamed."
Is that supposed to be scary? Pegging isn't new for me, friendo, but it is for Disney.
Ryan, this is something you've been writing for a while. Now we're here with Disney and a hard R.
I hope it doesn't sound condescending. I'm really proud of them. It adds a whole other color to this kaleidoscopic wheel that is that company. I was surprised that they let us go hard R, but I mean, there's no other way to do it. It really allowed us a lot of freedom to kind of do anything and everything in a world where anything and everything is possible.
Give me a handout. No, I'm actually okay.
Ryan Reynolds was frustrated with the corporate executives who dragged their feet in the production of Deadpool.
You must be quite pissed off that, you couldn't make that decision for yourself.
Yes, exactly. We tried, but the fans got it made. So this is a great story, too, that this is totally fan-driven in every way.
People who don't know, they'll be thinking, why wouldn't the studio want to make this movie? It's a superhero movie. Everyone loves that. And it is a superhero movie, and it's got all those things.
What was the meeting like when you're discussing with Disney the jokes about Disney?
The fun story would be that Disney was just appalled at everything and was never going to let us do anything. But that's on one hand. On the other hand, money. They had a lot of faith in us to deliver and to self-govern. So yes, there's jokes in there that I personally cannot believe they let us.
And in fairness, because we were like the kind of good boy students turning in our script every once in a while, and every time we send a script, we were like kind of waiting, and the pushback never came, and it became clear that on this movie, funny wins.
Really, there was one joke, one line that they asked me to take out.
When I was on set, I was like, there's no way that's going to be
Yeah, I have a joke about Hugh that I couldn't believe he let me say in the movie. So that passes. I was like, wow.
If Ryan Reynolds walks away from the X-Men franchise, it wouldn't just mean losing Deadpool. It would represent a massive PR disaster for Disney. Reynolds isn't merely a leading actor. He's one of Marvel's most beloved, bankable stars and a vocal advocate for authentic storytelling. Should he publicly leave over creative differences tied to Disney's DI agenda, it would send shockwaves through the industry, signaling that even A-list talent won't tolerate corporate agendas that overshadow storytelling. The backlash could be seismic. Fans and creators would likely view this as a tipping point in the growing divide between Hollywood's corporate decisions and the creative integrity audiences crave. But the impact wouldn't stop with the X-Men, or even Marvel. If Reynolds' stance gains traction, it could spark a larger movement within Hollywood, inspiring actors, writers, and directors to push back against studio-driven agendas that prioritize box-ticking over authentic narratives. For years, studios have leaned into crafting politically charged content at the expense of character authenticity, and audiences are increasingly fatigued by it. A high-profile clash like this could ignite a cultural shift where creators demand more control over storytelling and studios are forced to listen to their fan bases rather than alienating them. Disney's executives now face a critical question. Can they afford to risk the MCU's reputation by alienating its most loyal fans? In an industry as competitive as Hollywood, the stakes are high. Rival studios like Warner Brothers are churning out hits like The Batman and Joker, celebrated for their commitment to character authenticity and compelling storytelling. Marvel, once the undisputed juggernaut of cinematic universes, now finds itself struggling with diminishing returns and a waning audience. The X-Men franchise isn't just another property, it's a cultural cornerstone with a legacy rooted in diversity, acceptance, and resilience. Characters like Storm, Wolverine, and Cyclops have captivated generations, showcasing that inclusion doesn't have to feel forced to be impactful. Disney risks throwing away this legacy by pandering to agendas rather than respecting the X-Men's timeless relevance. The stakes for Disney couldn't be higher. Fans have spoken loudly and clearly in the past. Franchises like Ghostbusters, 2016, The Little Mermaid, 2023, and the Marvels faced massive backlash for forcing changes that alienated their audiences rather than uniting them. The X-Men's legacy isn't something that needs rewriting to fit modern times. It has always been about inclusion, standing up for who you are, and fighting for survival. These themes are as relevant today as they've ever been. If Disney gets this wrong, it won't just be another failed movie. It could mark the tipping point that forever changes the relationship between studios and the audiences that built them. The X-Men have always been about staying true to yourself and fighting for what you believe in. Let's hope Disney doesn't lose sight of that before it's too late. What do you think? Is Disney crossing a line by altering iconic characters in the name of diversity? Or is this a necessary step for Hollywood's evolution? Fans have been clear in the past. They want respect for the stories they love. Now it's up to Disney to decide whether to listen or risk alienating the very people who have kept these stories alive for generations.